First of all, thank you very much for attending this talk. My name is Jonathan, and I mean, if you made a game and you have gone to some of the markets, I'm sure Southeast Asia will become a very important part of your plans in the future. So hopefully, today what I'm going to share with you guys is going to be helpful. Strange thing is I'm seeing more Asians here. So I guess a lot of you do want to make money from Southeast Asia. Okay, my name is Jonathan, just again. I'm the COO and co-founder of Cloudmoolah. Cloudmoolah is a Singapore company, and we are the official integrated game payment partner with Unity. That is the reason we're here, and we have a booth at the Expo. So later on, after this talk, if you have questions and anything, feel free to look for us. We are all there. Our chairman, Mr. Roland Ong, he's the guy credited with bringing World of Warcraft to China. So he did that back in 2009, I think, and spent the next 2 years just trying to localize the game for the China market. And to my left is our CFO. I think the very first question that you want answers to is, why does Southeast Asia matter in your plans? Numbers, very simple, very straightforward. Asia Pac by itself, you're looking at a 47% CAGR growth. What this presents is that this is one of the fastest growing market in terms of continent. The rest of the market, although they're lucrative, they're strong, but you will not see growth as strong as the Asia-Pacific region. Some numbers here: 854 million smartphones, 69% year-on-year growth, more than 2 billion just in revenue. And we're just talking about Southeast Asia here. Half the size of China in terms of population, 70% of them below 40 years old. And 70% of them actually download 1 to 5 games per month. So we're talking about a very vibrant market here. 75% of this growth is with gaming. 3.6% is the growth in revenue per gamer. So all these are factors that really contributes towards a very fast-growing market. But however, although it's half the size of China, it is not homogeneous like China. We're not talking about one language fits all. We're talking about at least 7 different languages, multiple cultures. So there's so many things for you to take into consideration because you only had one shot into this market. And if you take hit of some of these factors, some of these tips that I'm going to share with you guys, I think it's going to be pretty rewarding for you. So let's move on to the tip. Tip number 1, you have to localize your game payment and your payment channels. Of course, you're into Google, you're into Apple, credit card payment. In some of these Southeast Asian market, you do get the prepaid cards being sold, Google, Apple, in the stores. But that doesn't cover all. Because why? In my past 15 years of publishing games in Southeast Asia, it is a common thing for us to have third-party payment methods integrated into our games. I'll share about why this is so. Let's look at this graph here. Would anybody be able to tell me what this graph is about? I'll just share with you. We're talking about credit card penetration across these key markets. So this is maybe an average of 3% if you look at these key Southeast Asian market. So what this mean, what this slide really mean, is that if you have 100 gamers that's knocking on your door, waiting to pay you money for your game, only 3 of them have the credit card to pay you. So what happened to the remaining 97%? You're talking about a huge untapped market that you really should pay some attention to. So how are these Asian gamers, how are these Southeast Asian gamers really paying? Direct e-banking, mobile top-up cards. I'm referring to top-up cards that is being used by the telco to top up into their game, into their mobile phone accounts, prepaid, so in so many shops, the same kind of game code, the same kind of value code can then be used for the games. And lastly, prepaid card that you buy over the counter in the form of receipts or in the form of just a code. So in Southeast Asia right now, a little bit once told me, recently, that these payment methods can sometimes amount to 40% of a mobile games revenue. So what this means is that if you're not tapping into any of these payment channels, you could be losing that 40%. 40% to an indie developers is important. It pays the bills, right? And at no cost, why not? Look for space and opportunities and factors for you to go beyond it. So let's say if you decided, yes, I want to go into Southeast Asia, I'm going to use some of this payment channel. What now? To enter into each of these markets, this is what you need to do. Step number one, you contact the local payment partner. It could be a telco, it could be an aggregator, there are plenty of them. You talk, you negotiate. Okay, if language is not an issue, you talk, you negotiate, you go legal, you start talking about NDAs, start talking about the agreement, merchant agreement, and then you start getting your technical people involved. You start learning the SDK, the documents, the APIs, all these you get two sides, both sides of the technical team, and then you begin the integration. And then you do testing, and then you repeat this for every single one of the 7 key markets that you saw just now. What this will mean, from my experience, each cycle of this takes easily 3 months. So if you decide to do this for every single country, one by one, you're going to lose easily 2 years, 3 years. So if your game has caught fire elsewhere, exploded, revenue is coming in, do you want to waste that 2 years? Or would you rather you spend a very good solution just to do it, just to cover all the markets? So I'll come into that in one of the tips later on. Let's move on to the next tip. Ask local folks. There's a lot of English speakers in Southeast Asia. There's a lot of forums. There are people like us who have been publishing games in Southeast Asia. Talk to us. Ask any questions, because we welcome all developers, content creators to come into Southeast Asia. We believe that there's a huge potential for you to realize additional revenue without having to break a sweat. You just need to know what's going on. So when you ask the folks, you can have local customer service, you can have marketing, advertising, you can even have financials and regulations consultation. Because if you look at Southeast Asia, there's a lot of small little quirks here and there. And these are things that you will want to ask the local people. And of course, payment channels. Tip number 3, localization is key. Because if you look at the Southeast Asian market that I mentioned just now, Thailand, you need your game in Thai. Vietnam, you need your game in the Vietnamese language. Indonesia, huge market, you need your game in Bahasa. So if you don't do your localization properly, this is what it's going to become. Look at the picture on the other side. We're just talking about the estimated English speaker in each of these markets. Indonesia and Thailand easily one of the largest game markets in Southeast Asia, but only less than 10% of the Vietnam gamers can speak or even understand English. So if you're just going ahead with your English version, a global service, hopefully trying to take a part of Vietnam, you're losing a lot of potential for your game. But you have to also realize that localization goes beyond just translating your language. We're talking about From English, if you want to convert into the Thai language, the buttons have to become bigger, or the buttons have to become smaller. Because what? Your UI, your context, well, all has to be taken into consideration. Tip number 4, you try to cater to the different spending power. Because there isn't a market, a huge combination of market that shows such a wide range of spending power. We're talking about Vietnam, per month kind of ARPU, $2 to $15. Thailand, $10 to $20. Malaysia, $15 to $50. Indonesia, $5 to $60 because the wealth gap is so huge. We're talking about Singapore, a very, very small market, but people are so willing to spend money on games. So, how do you draw all these analyses and then put them into a game? There's a lot of help. There's Big Mac Index, there's iPad Index, and then you increase this paying conversion, this pay rate, by just understanding the spending power in Southeast Asia. Number 5, you focus on the right market, okay? It has a lot of different characteristics. So if your game focuses on real monetization, I'm talking about IAPs and all that, your MTX, your microtransactions and all that, go after the Thai and the Vietnam market. If your game focuses on ad revenue, go after the Philippines, go after the Indonesia. So there are markets that will help you gain a good head start. Tip number 6. Android is definitely a segment that you should pay a bit more attention if you decide to go into Southeast Asia. Just to be quick about it, the green color, you will see effectively in almost the entire Asia part, the Southeast Asian part, is completely in green. So we don't have to talk about numbers in each of these markets. It cuts across. Tip number 7, build and own your own community. Why? Because gamers in Southeast Asia like to move around in hordes. They follow a certain spiritual leader. They follow a gamer who has spent a lot of money. They follow, because in a lot of games, if the guild leader spend a lot of money, everybody benefits. So there are a lot of these, I call them virtual gangster head. And these people, they move around. So if you have the contact of all these people, every game that you do, a phone call is all it takes for them to give your game a shot. So there are many things that you can do. You can build a simple mobile game portal. Facebook is a good way. You know, create that, and then you offer video, you offer a lot of community management stuff for them to stay there. You create space for gamers who are fans of your company, of your studio, to talk about the games that you have made. But you also have to follow the local country rules and regulation properly. Because the moment your game goes big in any of these key markets, the community start talking about your game. That is when the authorities are going to start paying attention to what kind of game that has been hot. Number 8, you can seek local publishers. Recently, I mean, we have been publishers for the past 15 years. But recently, I've heard of new ways in which publishers can help. The past old traditional methods of exclusivity, we sign a contract, we sign license, we pay license fee, we pay MG. Not many developers are willing to do that nowadays, you know? I spent so much effort. I spent 2 years of my life making a game. Why should I choose to sleep with you? Why should I? No. But how can I still go into your market without having to marry someone? Okay? People are starting to, the publishers are starting to offer ad hoc kind of services because everybody has got their own expertise. Okay? I only want localization. I only want 2 customer service answering all my questions from the Vietnam market. I only want a community manager that speaks Vietnamese, okay, but you help me to manage them without having, for me to go into that market and set up a company and, you know, do all those voodoo stuff. You know, you don't want that. But you want a local publisher to say, fine, simple, you want a community manager? I'll get one for you. Every month, this is the fee. There are more and more publishers that's willing to do this. So talk to local publisher. So this is what I meant. So many things. And if you talk to these local publishers, some of them, they've seen your game, and they like it. They think that it has huge potential in the market. They might even throw in an investment. So what we have done is that, having published game in Southeast Asia for such a long time, we have a lot of friends. So some of these friends, they are all the local experts. They are the local aggregator of payment methods and all that. So we have forged an alliance in our partnership with Unity. So these are just our 5 key partners. And these 5 partners combined gives us 150 million Southeast Asian gamers in their database. 500,000 retail points for your gamers to pay for your game. And it covers all marketing channels across the entire region, and combined 20 years of game publishing. So number 9, timing is of the essence, okay? I'm not sure about the US and the Europe market, but when it comes to Southeast Asia, this is really important. You need to know the local holidays, know the school period, when is school holiday coming, when are the students going away from the capital, going back to the hometown where internet is a no-no, when are they leaving, and when are they coming back. These are all key things. You don't want to launch like an important part of your content at a period where all the gamers are going back to the hometown. And that is when their allowance, their school allowance is stopped. Their mom stopped giving them money because they're eating at home right now, right? So in that case, you want to time it properly. Ask somebody, or just simply Google. You'll find those data, those details available. So you know the local cultural period, right? You want to know some of these. And then you time your IP promotion properly. It's a very easy way for you to monetize, to lap on some of these holidays. Because you know, like for example, in Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam, there is a lunar Chinese New Year, right? A lunar New Year. This is a period whereby all the kids are going to get a lot of money in red packets. Like the adults are going to give them money. So what happened is that after they take some of this money, they're going to be so rich. This is going to be the richest part of the entire year. And then if you do a sudden promotion, 50%, but you get this much more, right? The kids are going to pawn their money, take my money, right? So local team, some of these, use it as an excuse and create promotion. A Lunar New Year bonanza, top up X number of times, 8 times. 8 is a magical number in Asia, right? 8 times, and you top up 8 times, you get this, Very simple to do. And lastly, use Cloudmoolah. So let me just put this into a bit of perspective for you guys. This is a bit of hard sell, but it's all fun. So imagine like for every 10,000 marketing that you spend on, you get 125 paying user that's knocking on your door. But however, because of this low credit card penetration, less than 3 gamers can pay for your game. So the contrast here is easy to see. You're talking about a $60 revenue versus a $500 revenue. So the difference here can pay for bills and can pay for a lot of things. So what we did is we became Unity's partner. The 5 partners that you saw just now, we have combined all their payment methods into one API system. And we have it integrated right into Unity Editor. We are right now in 2017.2 beta. So what it means that you can create a separate APK on the Android platform, a separate APK with our payment methods integrated without talking to a single person. It's all self-serve. And we'll pay you money every month. So if you're interested in the Cloudmoolah system, later on, please visit us at our booth, and we will be happy to share more with you. So what this means, in short, so we're talking about one simple integration that you can complete within 5 minutes, and you get access to 500,000 access points for gamers to pay for your game, and have access to 100 million gamers. I've thrown in some bonus tip here, so hopefully it helps. Let's share a bit of local quirks from our years of publishing games, right? So this is some of these strange behavior. Maybe it could be similar to the American gamers or the European gamers, but these are just some of that. I'm happy to share that with you guys. Number one, in Southeast Asia, we like to call gamers who doesn't pay but play the game very heavily freeloaders, right? It's not offensive, but it's our common term here. The paying rate for Southeast Asian gamer ranges between 2 to 15%. When you hit the right spot, you can hit as high as 15%. But how to hit the right spot? You need to give out a lot of free stuff. Don't be stingy about it. Give them the free stuff. It's as good as poison. Give them some bait. Let them get a taste of what it's like to have 1,000 diamonds. And after they start using the diamond, they're going to love it. They're like, oh, I can't do without it. I need to have more diamonds. Okay? It's common. I think it's a very common monetization strategy nowadays. But you have to build this into the game. Aggressiveness. I think majority of the audience here today are Asian. So I'll say that again. Asians are generally a lot more aggressive when it comes to games. We want to lead the pack. We want to defeat our friends on the social network. So we secretly hate our friends. And by playing a game and by topping up that leaderboard, it's the best way for us to vent that hatred. I'm just kidding. Anyway, that's my wife's way of getting back at me, because she's way better than me with Clash Royale. She hits like 4,005 trophy, and I'm always below 3,000. Political sensitivity. I want to share a small little case study, a small little news. I think just last month, the whole of Malaysia banned Steam. You know, the PC and the game delivery by Valve. The entire Steam was banned in Malaysia. Malaysia is a huge market. We're talking about them calling their ISPs and say, stop this IP from coming here. It was banned, totally banned. Why? Because Steam released a game called Fight of Gods, in which the Buddha and the Prophet Muhammad, was featured inside the game where they were fighting each other. So such thing wouldn't do, because it's going to attract a lot of attention, a lot of negativity. So steer clear of religious stuff, steer clear of nationalistic stuff, and you always have to be careful about these. There are some silent animosity among some Southeast Asian countries. I wouldn't say that for the sake of you guys repeating it, I get into trouble. Backstory. I know. When we build a game, we want to build a story, we want to build a context, we want to immerse the gamer into our game, into our story. But no, the Southeast Asian gamers, they don't read your story. They just skip all the way until the game. If you're talking about, okay, this is an ARPG, the moment he starts playing your ARPG, I said, this is how an ARPG is going to behave, and they go like, tuk, 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 and play. Or this is RTS, okay, this is what, okay, where do I find this button? And it's all about that. It's diving straight into the game. So keep the story light. Because if they want context, they want storyline, and they want character histories, they will play PC and console games. Size matter, because we're talking about some of this market having very, very limited data quota. I myself, I pay 100 USD a month for 6 gig of data. Bloody expensive in Singapore. 6 gig of data. If I download like Lineage 2, one gig is gone, unless I'm talking about Wi-Fi, right? But if I'm outside, there's no way, right? So size do matter. Keep it below 350 for the APK to download, the initial download. The rest can come later, but cut them into slices, cut them into pieces. Deliver only the first 10% of what the gamers is going to come in, and then the rest can come progressively. And you also have to note that download speed, internet bandwidth, differs in all the Southeast Asian countries. Some are really good, some telcos are really good, some telcos are not so good. So what you do, you conduct a bit of play test, okay? Get a local friend. Hey, can you help me to download? And then give it a try. How long does it take for you before you start your first character? Have that in mind. And this is a very unique, I'm not sure whether the Americans does it this way, but almost in all RPGs and RTS, they will create farming accounts. And it's good, it's good. If they bother to create farming accounts, they love your game. So what this farming account does is that it basically leaches all the early part benefits that you gave to the gamer, they accumulate, and they will find small little quirks and small little ways for them to channel all these benefit back to the main account. It is a very common way of playing all these games. But this builds retention, because the moment you start grinding, hard work starts sinking in, they're going to regret giving up the game. They're going to be like, but I put in so much effort. Managing multiple accounts is not easy. And managing multiple accounts, either they are so technically sound, they install everything on a mobile phone, or they'll be using BlueStack, they'll be using some of this simulator to put 10 accounts into one PC, and then they're like, okay, I'm playing this thing. These are all things that I need to do, just to get that edge. Asian gamers. So, that actually brings to end my 10 tips here. I hope they are useful to you guys. Let us help you guys go east. Visit us for a chat. We are very willing to answer questions and all that. We are in the expo hall. And allow me to share this. And since our system is coming live really, really soon, we are handpicking, selecting some really sincere and hardworking developers, and we're willing to help them with marketing. We're talking about paying money, having a marketing budget to help you guys get a head start into Southeast Asia. So at this moment, I have budget for 50 games. So do come talk to us, okay? We'll be happy to give you guys a head start. All right? So at this point, these are emails and our website and our Facebook. I sincerely ask all of you for help to just like our page. We have just started. Just like our page, and we will continuously be sharing updates about what we're doing. And I will open it to the ground if you have any questions to ask me. Hi.
Thank you for this interesting presentation.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. One, there's always this fear of losing intellectual property when you go east. You know,
Yes.
Your game being reverse engineered, and all of a sudden a dozen clones are out there, and you know you're already, especially if you're a small developer, you just can't keep up with
Yes.
all of this stuff.
Yes.
And in some instances, if you're trying to protect some of your content or some of your code, you may use a headless server, right? A server that runs some of the logic and then sends it back to the client. And you can't have that headless server in North America because the lag just transferring information is long. So does Cloudmoolah also offer some server space to host these? So two things that sort of are always top of mind when we're trying to cross the vast seas.
Okay, I think to answer your first question, in terms of your IP protection, in terms of your concept, your brilliant ideas and all that, speed is of the essence. Speed, really. And we're talking about localization being your advantage here, okay? So we are talking about our typical way of publishing a game across Southeast Asia is we always try to do the English version first, okay, with I would say, average kind of marketing, get a bit of feedback about how the English market is feeling about your game. Because in each of these Southeast Asian markets, we do have got a small percentage of English-speaking gamers who are usually quite rich. They are the AA markets, and they will play your game and they'll give you some feedback, okay? But the moment you're ready, quickly localize it into Bahasa, into Thai, into Vietnam. Choose one of these markets and then go into it heavily. And if you engage a local publisher, chances are nobody in that country will dare to copy your game. Yeah, if you have a very strong partner in that country. That's how it works. In terms of your second question, we host all our games almost with AWS or Google. It's as good as just creating a small, they have many mirrors there. They have them in Taiwan, in Singapore, okay? I usually house all my servers in Google Cloud in Singapore. And it's good enough for the whole Southeast Asia. It's good enough, solid enough. But CDN-wise, of course, you have so many people offering CDN that to you, so just use anyone.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? If not, I'll be at the booth until tonight's party. I'm looking forward to tonight's party, and hopefully, if you catch me, just ask me. I'm wearing Cloudmoolah t-shirt, so it's easy to spot me around. All right, thank you very much.